It's finally that time of year again. Race day. Today we're kicking off the racing season at the Muddy Waters GP. So as I said in my last video, the expectation for this race is kind of low. I'm more or less treating this as a ride day because this is my second ride so far of the season and my second ride for the past about 6 months. So we're still trying to ease back into things. So again, expectation for the day is more or less just try and get some seat time, and if I end up beating a few people, then awesome. But for the race today, we are in the 12 to 29C class, and there are 36 other riders in this class. So I think this is the largest C class that I've ever raced against for a GP. So that's pretty exciting. But with that said, let's get to the racing. As usual at GPs, Moto 1 is a dead engine start. The last couple of years, this seems to be a pretty common occurrence. I am dead last off the start. Bike didn't start first kick, so um, we are again towards the back. You may notice that the view is a little bit different. So as I said in my off-season videos that I made, the AMA has a new GoPro ruling where you cannot attach the GoPro to your helmet or visor. So we are looking at the chest mount right now. We're going to be compliant for this first race, and then depending on how different tracks enforce it, we may have some varying GoPro views for different races. But to be honest, I'm not too ticked off about this view. I figured the footage would be borderline unwatchable, which it's not great. I'm not saying this is a great view by any means, but I got the view to where when I'm sitting, it looks almost like a chest mount aside from my head movement. When I'm standing, you'll notice that the camera is basically just looking straight down at the bars, but most of the time I'm sitting, which I should be standing more, but that's a different conversation. Um, but I'm sitting most of the time during races, especially for woods races. So um, I'm I'm not mad. I'm not happy about the view, but I'm not mad. So to the race itself, this first lap we'll just do a continuous cut just to get a lay of the land. So you saw the start there. We went through the first woods section. We came back onto the motocross track, and now we are moving to the second woods section. This section here, very short, just come in to the woods, just basically a straight line. Then we come up this uphill, which this got pretty tricky, and I stalled my bike on the first lap. But there's some roots at the top of this hill that made it very tricky, and as the track wore down, um, we'll see that it ends up giving us some issues. Then we come back on to the motocross track. I honestly, no joke, I lost some sleep the night before because I was nervous that they would send us up the triple jump. If we look back to season 2, towards the end of the season, I was basically clearing all the jumps at this track, but that time has long since passed, so I'm really not comfortable jumping stuff, especially being so early in the season and not fully comfortable on my bike. So I lost some sleep on that, but luckily we were routed around it, and we went over the floater jump after we were routed around the triple, and now we're coming to the third wood section, which is the longest section and the final section. There were 3 total wood sections. So this was nice, fun. I'd say it was flowy pretty well. Uh, it was really rooted, but we'll see, especially in the next video in Moto 2, this track wears down fast. So we had a lot of braking bumps, a lot of roots, but that's in the next video. For now, things are pretty tame. This section here on the right, there was a log that you could go over. On the left, you could go around the log. That rut in front of the log was so deep that most people did not even attempt going over the log, but it was an option if your skill was good enough. We come out of the woods now onto the 50cc motocross track. This is pretty simple, nothing too difficult, just a few singles, a few rollers, and then basically just flat track after that. Coming on down to this 180 turn, and this straightaway here takes us to the main motocross track where we finish up our first lap. You'll notice that there's a group of about 5 riders just ahead of me, so I think having those riders in viewable distance, just so close to me, that pushed me quite a bit moving into the next few laps. So I didn't get too worn out for this first moto, which surprised me because how out of shape I am. Um, but I think just all the adrenaline on top of having these riders in front of me pushing me uh, really kept me from focusing on getting worn out. So we finished up the first lap. We're now moving on to lap 2, and we come to the first wood section, and this is where some chaos ensues. Make one pass on a guy that crashed right there. Moving up a little bit, another guy is stuck at the top of the hill here. Make a second pass there. So 2 pretty quick and easy passes. Moving along here onto the third wood section on the second lap, we're lurking behind another rider, just trying to keep up with him. Again, having these riders in front of me and actually being able to see them is really pushing me at this point. So I know I have the speed, I'm able to keep up with them. It's just whenever I don't see them, I think I lose a little bit of confidence, and that's what causes me to slow down a little bit and lose some ground. But when I have people in front of me, I'm able to keep up with them and get around them. So we had that group of 5 riders in front of me that we could see at the end of the first lap. On this lap alone, I got around 4 of them. So overall, I'd say lap 2 was a pretty eventful and a pretty good lap overall. So I forgot to mention, we're doing 5 laps total. We're supposed to be doing 5 laps total, so I'm guessing you can already suspect that I don't do all 5 laps, but now we're moving on from lap 2 to lap 3. We can see the last of the 5 riders that I was chasing at the end of the first lap just ahead of me, and I am making some ground on him as well. So just again trying to lurk behind him, hope for a mistake, hope for an opportunity to pass him. Fast forward a little bit here, we're in the second wood section, and this is where things kind of fall apart. So we have this really rooty top of the hill here for this second wood section. I end up getting stuck on a route because I slowed up with the mistake made by this last rider I was chasing behind, and I am burning up my clutch like no other at this point, trying to get unstuck. Appreciate the help from, I believe that was a track worker. He came around, helped me get unstuck, but I lost my clutch. Stall my bike here. I'm basically holding in my clutch completely at this point, and my bike's still stalling, so not good. That rider that I was chasing, he ended up getting around me. He started his bike, and you can hear we're just lugging. Getting passed by another rider at this point, and you're seeing I'm making an on-the-fly clutch adjustment to try and give me some clutch because I do use my clutch quite a bit. End up getting passed by a second rider here, so losing some ground at this point, unfortunately. By the way, those other two riders that you saw get around me in the second wood section, those were the leaders, so we ended up getting lapped. I think I made a jump too, so this is the last lap. This is the final lap here. So my third lap going to fourth. So these two riders get squabbled up here. They end up stalling their bikes, so this guy on the right is the one that I was chasing down. Another lapper gets around all three of us, and then I make the two passes back. So unfortunately I lost a bit of ground with that whole issue at the top of the second wood section, but I end up making back the passes of the ground that I lost. So I guess you could say no harm, no foul. So we're finishing up the first moto here, end up getting lapped, so do 4 of the 5 laps I was supposed to do. Regardless, I finished the race, and I was shocked with the result. I ended up getting 23rd of 36, which again isn't great, but for the expectation I had for this race, that's basically a win in my book. So very successful first moto in my opinion. Good start to the race season. But with that said, there is a second moto and things don't go as good. But I won't spoil it too much. But with that said, thank you all for watching, and I will see you in Moto 2 in the next video.